At 74, Margaret danced barefoot on the beach for the first time in 40 years. No partner, no guilt, just the sun, the sea, and a brand new sense of freedom. What changed? Everything and nothing at all. Hello, lovely ladies. I'm Dr. Susan Hartley, and I'm so glad you're here. Today I want to share a story, not just about one woman, but about many of us. Margaret is 74, she's single, and for the first time in decades, she feels truly alive. Not because she found a new man, won the lottery, or moved to a tropical island. No, what changed was inside her. And the best part, that same change is available to you. Whether you're widowed, divorced, or happily single, this message is for every woman over 70 who wonders, is this all there is? The answer is a powerful no. Life isn't over, it's just getting real. Let's talk about the 6 things that helped Margaret, and so many others, rediscover joy, confidence, and purpose after 70. The first step she took was subtle, but it changed everything. She stopped apologizing for wanting more. You see, for most of her adult life, Margaret put everyone else first. She was a mother, a wife, a caregiver. She ran errands, made meals, showed up for everyone, but rarely for herself. Sound familiar? It's what many of us were raised to do. We were taught that our value came from what we did for others. That if we had needs of our own, we were selfish. That being content meant settling. So when Margaret found herself single again in her 70s, her children grown, her home too quiet, she felt this ache inside, a restlessness, a wondering. She thought, is this it? Is this all I get? But every time she let herself want something more, a new hobby, a trip, maybe even romance, she heard that old voice in her head. Don't be ridiculous. You're too old. Be grateful for what you have. And so, for a while, she pushed those feelings down and put on a brave face. She told herself she was being mature, reasonable, realistic, but deep down she was shrinking. Then one day, while walking past a park, she saw a woman her age learning how to hula hoop with a group of ladies. They were laughing, a little wobbly, having the time of their lives. And for the first time, Margaret didn't feel envy, she felt possibility. She said to herself, what if I'm allowed to want more? What if there's no shame in that? That day, Margaret didn't pick up a hula hoop, but she did pick up something even better. Permission. She gave herself permission to desire. And that changed everything. My dear friends, let me say this as clearly as I can. Wanting more doesn't mean you're ungrateful. It means you're human. It means you still have dreams. And you are never too old for dreams. Whether it's wanting more connection, more joy, more laughter, more movement, or more color in your wardrobe, those desires are valid. They're not foolish or indulgent. They are signs that your spirit is still very much alive. I've had women in my practice, smart, compassionate, generous women, who feel guilty just for buying a new lipstick. They say, oh, at my age, what's the point? And I say, the point is you. The point is that you matter. You don't need to justify your joy to anyone, not even yourself. When Margaret stopped apologizing for wanting more, she didn't suddenly change her life overnight. But something opened up. She gave herself space to imagine again. She started to write little things down, try water aerobics, join a local book group, learn how to use that darn smartphone. Simple things, not because she had to, but because she wanted to. And you can too. Start with something small. Ask yourself, if I didn't feel guilty, what would I try? What would make me smile again? Don't worry if the answer feels silly. Silly can be sacred. In fact, some of the most powerful healing I've seen in women over 70 has come from giving themselves permission to play. Once Margaret accepted that it was okay to want more, she made another important shift. She found power in her daily routine. Now I know what you might be thinking. A routine? That sounds boring. But hear me out. When we're younger, our days are often full, raising children, working jobs, caring for parents. There's structure, purpose, motion, but when that stage passes, and it does, often before we're ready, we can feel lost, days blur, motivation dips, it can feel like time is passing without meaning. Margaret told me, I used to wake up and think, why bother getting dressed? Who's going to see me? She felt invisible, untethered. But here's what she realized, routines aren't about impressing others, they're about honoring yourself. So she began with one small habit, stretching for 10 minutes every morning. That was it. She put on a gentle YouTube video, rolled out a mat, and moved her body, not perfectly, not like a dancer, but with care. At first it felt awkward. But soon, it became her ritual. A way to greet the day with intention. From there she added other tiny habits, making her bed, putting on earrings even if she had nowhere to go, sitting outside with her coffee instead of in front of the TV. These were not grand gestures, but they rooted her. They reminded her, I am still here. I still matter. The power of a routine isn't in how complicated it is. It's in how consistently it reminds you of your worth. When we create small rhythms in our day, we create a sense of safety. Our brains calm down, our bodies respond. We feel less anxious, more focused. And over time, these small actions stack up to build confidence. Margaret even started keeping a don't list. Not a to-do list, but a look what I did today list. Things like watered the plants, called my sister, walked around the block. It might seem silly, but that list gave her pride. It reminded her that her days still had shape and meaning. If you're feeling overwhelmed or stuck in a rut, I want to encourage you to do what Margaret did. Start small. Pick just one thing to do each morning just for you. It could be brushing your hair and putting on a little perfume. It could be reading one page of a book you've always meant to finish, or stepping outside and feeling the sunshine on your skin. The goal isn't perfection, it's presence. So many of us have spent our lives caring for others, and now that we finally have time to care for ourselves, we don't know where to begin. But the truth is, you already have everything you need. You have wisdom, patience, humor, resilience, and you have today. That's a powerful thing. Margaret learned that creating a loving daily routine wasn't about keeping busy. It was about staying connected. To her body, to her joy, to the quiet magic of ordinary moments. And so can you. After Margaret stopped apologizing for wanting more, and after she began building simple, grounding routines into her day, something else began to shift. And it was big. Quietly, gently, she began to make peace with her body. I know this isn't easy. For many of us, our bodies have been a source of conflict for decades. We've compared, criticized, and tried to shrink ourselves into shapes we thought were more acceptable. We've covered up, hidden, apologized, even when no one asked us to. We've watched our bodies change, slow down, wrinkle, soften, and sag. And sometimes, we've looked in the mirror and barely recognized the woman looking back. Margaret told me, I spent so many years hating the way I looked. And when I hit 70, I figured it would just get worse. But then one morning I realized, I was still here. This body with all its flaws was still carrying me. That realization brought tears to her eyes. And maybe to yours too. She started doing something radical. She began thanking her body, not for how it looked, but for what it had done. She looked at her hands, once young, now spotted and lined, and whispered, thank you for holding babies, writing letters, wiping tears. She looked at her legs and said, thank you for walking me through decades of life. Even when I didn't appreciate you. It wasn't an overnight transformation, but day by day, her inner voice softened. She stopped standing sideways in the mirror, judging her profile. She started wearing clothes that felt good on her skin, not just appropriate for her age. She tried a coral pink lipstick one afternoon and smiled at her reflection. She wasn't trying to look younger, she was trying to look like herself. When we treat our bodies with kindness, our bodies begin to respond. They may not be perfect, but they are as ours. And they deserve gentleness. One thing Margaret started doing was replacing criticism with curiosity. When her knees ached, instead of getting angry, she asked, what do you need today? She began walking shorter distances, taking warm baths, and even bought a little lavender lotion to massage into her joints. These tiny acts of care weren't about fixing anything. They were about honoring her body the way you'd honor an old friend who's always been there. And that's what your body is, a friend, a companion through all the seasons of your life. She may be slower now, but she's wise. She's earned every wrinkle, every silver hair, every beautiful line. Please hear me when I say this. You don't need to bounce back. You don't need to fit into old jeans or hide behind baggy clothes. You deserve to feel comfortable in your skin today, just as you are. One day, Margaret went to a local pool and wore a swimsuit for the first time in years. She told me, I was nervous at first, but then I saw other women my age, laughing, swimming, not hiding, and I realized no one was looking at me the way I had feared. We were all just there doing our best, living. That day in the pool she felt free, and isn't that what we all want? Not to be admired necessarily, but to be at peace. To feel free. To look in the mirror and see not flaws, but a life well lived. Let me tell you what happened next in Margaret's story, because it's something so many women shy away from, but desperately need. After making peace with her body, Margaret opened herself to new friendships. I don't mean acquaintances, I mean real, warm, soul-nourishing friendships. The kind where you can laugh until you cry, or call someone just to say, I need a little company today. For many women over 70, loneliness becomes the quiet weight we carry, especially after loss. Whether it's a partner, family, or even a beloved pet, it's easy to withdraw. To feel like your world is getting smaller. That's what happened to after Margaret began making peace with her body and opening her heart to new friendships. Something else began to shift. Quiet, but deeply powerful change. She started letting go of the past. Let's be honest. That's no easy task. When you've lived over 7 decades, you've collected a lot along the way. Memories, stories, regrets, heartbreaks. And yes, some things you wish had gone differently. And if you're anything like Margaret, or like me, you've probably replayed some of those old moments in your mind, wondering what if or if only. That's human. That's love. But here's the hard truth: holding on to the past can quietly rob you of your present. Margaret had carried the weight of many things. A broken marriage. A friendship that ended badly. Words she wished she had said to her mother before she passed. And for years, she believed that holding on meant honoring those experiences. But what she didn't realize was that in clinging so tightly to what was, she was missing out on what is. One afternoon, she was going through an old box of letters. In it, she found a note from her late husband, the kind you keep, even after things fall apart. She read it, cried a little, and then something unexpected happened. She smiled. Not because the pain was gone, but because she could finally feel the love without the bitterness. She said to me later, I realized I could remember him without reliving the hurt. I could let that part of me be at peace. Letting go doesn't mean forgetting. It doesn't mean pretending things didn't matter. It means choosing to stop carrying it all on your back, especially when your heart needs room for new things. Joy, curiosity, connection. Margaret began a simple practice. Every night she would put her hand over her heart and whisper, that was then. This is now. I'm safe, I'm loved, and I'm allowed to move forward. It sounds small, but that little ritual created space in her soul. Space for healing. Space for today. If you're holding on to something heavy, my dear, I want you to know this: you don't have to carry it forever. You can honor your past and still create a present filled with light. It's okay to grieve. It's okay to feel the loss. But you also have permission to grow beyond it. Perhaps the most beautiful thing Margaret did, she began choosing joy on purpose. I don't mean she forced herself to be happy all the time. Life doesn't work like that. But she stopped waiting for perfect circumstances to feel alive. She stopped telling herself, I'll feel better once the kids visit, or I'll be happy when I lose 10 pounds, or it's too late to try that now. She started asking herself, what would bring me a little joy today? Just today. Just one thing. Some days it was a walk to the bakery for a fresh croissant. Other days it was playing music from her teenage years and dancing in her kitchen. One rainy afternoon, she watched her favorite old movie with a bowl of popcorn and a cozy blanket. Not because it was a big occasion, but because it felt good. Joy doesn't have to be loud or dramatic. It doesn't have to be expensive or complicated. It can be a phone call with a dear friend, a fresh coat of nail polish, a walk among flowers. The point is, you get to choose it. Not by waiting for life to be perfect, but by finding the little things that stir your soul. Margaret even started saying, yes. More yes to trying something new at the local senior center. Yes to a neighbor's invitation for lunch. Yes to her own curiosity. And each time she said yes, she felt more connected, not just to others, but to herself. One day, she showed up to her watercolor class in a bright yellow scarf. Someone said, you look like sunshine. And Margaret replied, that's how I feel today. That small moment captured everything she had worked toward. She wasn't trying to impress anyone. She wasn't trying to be younger or different. She was simply living, a little braver, a little freer, and a lot more joyfully. My dear friend, you don't need to wait for joy to knock on your door. You can go out and meet it, right where you are, exactly as you are. You've spent years taking care of others. Now it's your time, not to chase something grand, but to welcome the kind of joy that sits quietly in a cup of tea, a handwritten note, a good laugh, a long hug. Margaret didn't become someone else. She became more herself. And the same is true for you. You don't need to be younger, busier or braver to live fully. You just need to start gently, lovingly today. With all my heart, Dr. Susan Hartley.